They say suburban America is safe, predictable, wholesome, the land of white picket fences, Costco memberships, and Sunday barbecues. But if you've lived here long enough, you know the truth. Behind every freshly cut lawn lies a scandal waiting to explode. And mine? It began with yoga pants. Yes, yoga pants, the fabric of betrayal, the spandex of infidelity, the uniform of a cheating wife. My wife claimed she was going to yoga every Tuesday and Thursday, part of a wellness journey. I thought, great, she's taking care of herself. Who am I to get in the way of mindfulness and downward dog? But what she was really doing was something far darker, something straight out of a conspiracy theory thread on Reddit. You see, suburban yoga isn't about fitness. It's a cult. And the instructor, let's call him Ryan, because of course his name is Ryan, wasn't just teaching stretches. He was orchestrating a revolution of betrayal. The man had abs carved by Zeus, hair that looked like it was blow-dried by angels, and a grin so smug it could power the entire HOA. Women didn't just attend his class. They worshipped him. It was a cathedral of toxic love disguised as Pilates mats and soy candles. I remember the first time I got suspicious. She came home after yoga, except she looked like she'd just walked out of a music video. Hair tousled, cheeks flushed, smelling less like sweat and more like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. And here's the kicker, she didn't even own a yoga mat. That's when my brain went full FBI mode. Was she part of some suburban infidelity ring? Was this yoga studio a front for organized cheating? The evidence mounted faster than conspiracy theorists on YouTube can connect the Illuminati to Beyoncé. I started noticing things, neighbors whispering, my wife's sudden obsession with smoothies that tasted like sadness, receipts from juice bars I'd never heard of. And then the ultimate red flag, she started using words like alignment and spiritual awakening in casual conversation. That's code, folks. Code for I'm being spiritually awakened by the guy who spots me in downward dog. It wasn't just betrayal of marriage vows, it was betrayal of the entire suburban code of conduct. But here's where it gets twisted. I thought maybe she was just having an affair. Classic cheating wife story, right? Wrong. The truth was so much worse. Ryan wasn't just seducing women, he was building a suburban army, a yoga militia, a cult of flexible betrayal warriors ready to overthrow the traditional American family unit. While I was working overtime to pay for Little League, she was out there training for some kind of suburban Hunger Games. Except instead of swords, they had yoga straps. I confronted her once. I said, "Honey, why do you come home glowing like you've just committed a federal crime?" She laughed, that toxic laugh that says you'll never believe the truth even if I tattoo it on your forehead. She told me I was paranoid. She told me it was all in my head. Gaslighting level, professional. But I knew. I could feel the infidelity creeping through our house like mold, growing in the corners, infecting everything. One night I followed her. She told me she was off to late yoga. Who even does yoga at 9 p.m.? Nobody. Except, apparently, this cult. I drove my rusting Ford F-150 to the strip mall where the studio was, parked under a flickering streetlight, and waited. What I saw that night changed me forever. The studio windows glowed like some sacred temple. Inside, Ryan stood shirtless. Of course he was shirtless, surrounded by women in Lululemon, all swaying to Enya like they were under a spell. And there she was, my wife, not in warrior pose, but practically worshiping at his feet. It was betrayal made public, infidelity in high definition, toxic love disguised as core work. And then it happened. They kissed. Not a casual, oops, too much kombucha kiss. No, this was the kind of kiss that destroys families, the kind of kiss that makes you understand why Greek tragedies always end in death. And the worst part? The other women cheered. like it was some grand finale of The Bachelor. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just cheating. This was indoctrination. This was conspiracy. My wife hadn't simply fallen into an affair. She'd been recruited into the suburban yoga cult. A betrayal not only of me, but of our kids, our mortgage, our family dog, even of the very concept of America itself. Infidelity was just the entry point. The real plan? Take over the entire cul-de-sac, one warrior pose at a time. I sat in that truck, heart pounding, rage boiling, humiliation burning my insides like cheap whiskey. And I swore right then I would get revenge. Not the petty kind, not just divorce paperwork and alimony battles. No, I would expose them. Blow the lid off the suburban yoga conspiracy. Show the world how a cheating wife and her smug instructor nearly dismantled the American family from inside a strip mall studio. And that's only the beginning. Because if you think the betrayal ends with a kiss, oh no, this was just phase one. People think catching a cheating wife is easy. You find a lipstick stain, an unfamiliar text message, maybe a hotel receipt hidden in her purse, and boom, case closed. But this wasn't your average case of infidelity. This was organized betrayal. This was a toxic love network operating under the fluorescent lights of a suburban strip mall. And me? I was about to go full FBI meets Jerry Springer to uncover the truth. The morning after I saw her worshiping Ryan's abs like they were some ancient artifact, I woke up with a mission. No more pretending. No more, maybe I'm overreacting. This wasn't paranoia. This was reality. I poured myself a cup of burnt Folgers coffee, stared at my reflection in the toaster, and said, "You're not just a husband anymore. You're an undercover operative in the war on infidelity." Step 1. Surveillance. Forget CIA satellites. I had binoculars from Walmart and a notebook that still smelled like third-grade math homework. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I parked across from the yoga studio in my Ford F-150, the official vehicle of American men who know something is wrong but don't yet have the courage to call a lawyer. From that vantage point, I became the neighborhood's least glamorous private investigator. I documented everything. The suspicious way Ryan greeted every woman with a hug that lasted 5 seconds too long. The way he said namaste like it was foreplay. The way my wife always arrived early and left late, like this was more than yoga. It was a full-time betrayal internship. And get this, she started wearing makeup to work out. Who puts on mascara before hot yoga unless you want the sweat to mix with eyeliner and create a look called Cheating Wife Raccoon? Step 2. Interviews. In true suburban fashion, gossip spreads faster than Wi-Fi. So I went door to door, pretending I cared about the neighborhood watch, but really digging for dirt. Mrs. Thompson across the street whispered, "Oh, honey, I've seen those yoga girls. They're not stretching their hamstrings, if you know what I mean." Mr. Jenkins muttered something about toxic love affairs destroying the HOA while mowing his lawn shirtless. Even the UPS driver had a theory. "Bro, I deliver Amazon packages there 3 times a week, and trust me, ain't nobody ordering yoga mats anymore. It's lingerie and wine openers." The more I dug, the darker it got. This wasn't just about my wife. This was systemic infidelity, a betrayal epidemic, a suburban pandemic where yoga was the virus and Ryan was patient zero. Every cul-de-sac had casualties. Marriages crumbling, families torn apart, revenge plots brewing in backyard BBQs. Infidelity was no longer scandal. It was lifestyle. Step 3. Infiltration. I wasn't about to sit back and let this cheating circus continue. So I did the unthinkable. I signed up for a yoga class. Yes, me. The man whose idea of exercise was carrying groceries from Costco in one trip. I walked into that studio wearing cargo shorts and a t-shirt from a 2007 company picnic, ready to face the belly of the betrayal beast. The room smelled like essential oils and broken vows. Ryan, of course, was shirtless, glistening like he'd been basted in olive oil by Martha Stewart herself. He looked at me and said, "Welcome, brother. Here, we practice unity and love." I nearly choked. Unity? Love? This man was single-handedly dismantling the American family while selling incense sticks for $12.99. The class began. Poses like Child's Pose, Warrior Two, and what I call public humiliation for husbands who suspect infidelity. I tried to keep up, but every time I looked over, my wife wasn't just stretching, she was performing. Laughing too loudly at his jokes, brushing his arm accidentally, practically glowing with betrayal energy. It was like watching my marriage file for divorce. In real time. Halfway through, Ryan led the class into something he called the heart opener. Symbolic, right? Except instead of opening hearts, he was opening marriages like bank vaults, looting trust, and leaving behind a mess of toxic love receipts. My wife locked eyes with him like he was the last bottle of wine on earth, and that's when I realized this wasn't yoga. This was a cult initiation ritual. I stumbled out of that studio drenched in sweat, not from exercise, but from rage. The betrayal was no longer private. It was public performance art. And worse, everyone acted like it was normal. The women were hypnotized, the men were oblivious, and the instructor was the suburban messiah of cheating. That night, I sat in my truck again, scribbling in my notebook like a madman. Cheating wife, EQ's recruited. Ryan, EQ's cult leader. Family, EQ's under attack. Solution, EQ's revenge. My handwriting looked like a conspiracy theorist's ransom note. But it didn't matter. I had proof, I had motive, and I had fury. This wasn't about one marriage anymore. This was about saving the entire neighborhood from collapse. Because here's the thing, betrayal doesn't just break trust. It spreads. It infects. Infidelity is contagious, like suburban measles. And if I didn't stop it, if I didn't take action, the whole block would be dancing barefoot to Enya, while their families dissolved into divorce court statistics. So yes, I became a soldier in the war against toxic love. And I swore that if it took me burning down every yoga mat in this town, I would expose Ryan, I would call out my cheating wife, and I would restore balance to the American family. At least that's what I thought, until the next discovery made everything 10 times worse. There are moments in life when you realize you're not living in reality anymore. You're living in a parody of reality. Like when your wife swears she's going to yoga, but you walk into the studio and suddenly it's less about downward dog and more about upward betrayal. That night, everything shifted. The yoga studio wasn't just a studio anymore. It was a courtroom, a theater, a suburban coliseum where infidelity would finally be dragged into the fluorescent light of judgment. It all began at what Ryan advertised as the Community Yoga Retreat, a grand event with kombucha fountains, gluten-free brownies, and enough incense to trigger an asthma epidemic. My wife insisted she had to go. "It's about healing," she said, with that toxic serenity only cheaters master. And I thought, perfect. Healing for her, evidence for me. I arrived undercover, if you can call a hoodie and baseball cap undercover. The studio was packed. Suburban wives in Lululemon lined up like disciples, husbands lurking at the edges, sipping LaCroix and pretending they weren't suspicious. Kids ran around unsupervised, hopped up on organic gummy bears. And then the main event. Ryan appeared, shirtless of course, wearing white yoga pants so tight they could have been painted on. The room erupted in applause like he was a rock star at Coachella, not a suburban man with a $40 incense side hustle. And there she was, my wife. Radiant, glowing, the very image of betrayal wrapped in spandex. She wasn't just attending, she was center stage. sitting cross-legged right in front of Ryan, hanging on his every word like he was Gandhi mixed with a Peloton instructor. Ryan began with his usual nonsense. We are here to align our energies, to open our hearts, to release toxic love that no longer serves us. I almost choked on my LaCroix. Release toxic love? The man was literally manufacturing toxic love in bulk and distributing it wholesale across the neighborhood. And then the betrayal went public. Midway through the retreat, Ryan demonstrated a partner pose. Of course, he chose my wife. The crowd gasped with admiration, like this was the suburban Super Bowl halftime show. He lifted her into the air, held her close, whispered something in her ear, and then it happened. A kiss. Not just any kiss. The kind of kiss that doesn't just betray a marriage, it betrays the very fabric of family, the sacred bond of the HOA, the integrity of Costco memberships everywhere. The room erupted. Some women clapped. Others gasped. One guy in the back shouted, "Bro, is this yoga or a soap opera?" Phones came out. Snapchat, Instagram stories. Suddenly, my private humiliation was trending in the local PTA group chat. The cheating wife wasn't hiding anymore. She was performing. That's when I lost it. I stormed forward, ripped off my hoodie like I was entering WrestleMania, and shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, behold the truth of yoga." The room froze. Ryan blinked. My wife's face went pale, mascara smudging into raccoon patterns of guilt. I pointed at them like a prosecuting attorney on a daytime courtroom show. This is not yoga. This is not enlightenment. This is organized infidelity, betrayal in spandex, the destruction of family values disguised as stretching exercises. Somebody in the back yelled, "Order in the court," and suddenly it really did feel like a trial. The audience split into factions, Team Husband versus Team Ryan. The suburban gossip economy was booming in real time. I turned to my wife. Tell everyone what you've been doing. Was it yoga or was it cheating?" The word echoed off the studio walls like thunder. She stammered, "It's not what it looks like." Classic cheating wife line. Always what they say right after you literally watch them make out in front of the entire community. Ryan stepped in, smug as ever. "Brother, you must release your anger. Betrayal is just an illusion." Oh no, wrong move. I spun on him like Judge Judy with a vendetta. Illusion? You kissed my wife in front of 50 witnesses and a kombucha fountain. That's not illusion. That's Exhibit A in the trial of infidelity. The crowd gasped. Mrs. Thompson fainted into a pile of yoga blocks. A teenager live-streamed the entire thing on TikTok, captioning it, "Suburban Dad Goes Full Conspiracy." I paced like a lawyer in closing arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is more than one cheating wife. This is a systemic attack on the family, on trust, on the very idea that yoga is about stretching and not seduction. If we let this go unpunished, what's next? Hot Pilates orgies? Tai Chi swinger clubs? We must demand justice. The room erupted in applause. Even the skeptical husband started chanting, "Justice! Justice!" For one glorious moment, I felt like a revolutionary leader, the suburban Che Guevara of betrayal awareness. And then my wife snapped. She screamed, "You don't understand. Ryan makes me feel alive. You only care about your job, your truck, your family BBQs. This isn't infidelity, it's freedom." The betrayal cut deeper than any kiss could. Freedom? She called cheating freedom? That was it. The trial had reached its verdict. I raised my hands like a preacher. Then hear me now. If betrayal is freedom, then revenge is justice. And I will have justice. The crowd went silent. Ryan smirked, smug as a cat who just ate the family parakeet. My wife looked at me with those toxic eyes that said she thought she'd won. But she had no idea. This was only Act 3. And the final act, the act of revenge, was still to come. Revenge is a dish best served cold, or, in my case, lukewarm with a side of leftover casserole, because that's all that was left in the fridge after my cheating wife ran off with Ryan, the yoga messiah. But let me tell you something. Betrayal doesn't end with a kiss in front of a kombucha fountain. Betrayal echoes. It crawls into your bones. It sits in the empty passenger seat of your Ford F-150. It stares back at you from the family photos hanging crooked on the wall. Infidelity doesn't just take your wife. It takes your dignity, your peace of mind, your Costco membership renewal fee. And so revenge became my new religion. Not the petty kind, like changing the Netflix password or slashing tires. No, this was bigger. This was about exposing the toxic love cult to the entire neighborhood, showing that cheating wives and smug instructors couldn't just dismantle families without consequences. I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was the suburban avenger. Step 1. Weaponize the gossip. In America, gossip isn't just chatter. It's infrastructure. It moves faster than Amazon Prime. It spreads wider than HOA fines, and it destroys reputations quicker than you can say, cheating wife. I leaked everything. The kiss, the live stream, the screenshots of partner yoga sessions that looked more like infidelity auditions. Within 24 hours, the neighborhood Facebook group exploded. Comments flew like fireworks. OMG, not Ryan. I knew those leggings were suspicious. This is why families are collapsing in this country. Step 2. Lawyer up. Nothing says revenge in America like a divorce attorney with teeth sharper than a shark. I walked into his office with a flash drive labeled Exhibit A, Betrayal, containing more video evidence than an entire season of Dateline. He watched 5 minutes of Ryan kissing my wife and said, "Son, you just won custody and half his yoga mats." God bless the legal system. Step 3. Public spectacle. The suburban court date was a carnival. My wife arrived in a flowing white dress like she was auditioning for The Bachelor Divorce Edition. Ryan strutted in shirtless under a leather jacket because apparently fabric is his enemy. And me? I wore a suit I hadn't touched since prom, ready to turn this courtroom into my revenge stage. The judge asked for opening statements, and I launched into full parody mode. Your Honor, this isn't just a case of infidelity. This is an epidemic, a betrayal pandemic. My wife didn't just cheat. She joined a cult designed to dismantle families one downward dog at a time. I'm here today not just for me, but for every betrayed husband in every suburb across this great nation. Applause actually broke out in the gallery. The judge had to bang the gavel 3 times. My wife tried to cry on cue, mascara streaking like war paint. "I was trapped in a loveless marriage," she sobbed. "Ryan gave me freedom." But the evidence was too strong. Exhibit after exhibit of betrayal flashed across the projector. Photos, videos, even a neighbor's shaky GoPro footage. The jury didn't just look disgusted, they looked personally offended, like they'd been cheated on too. The verdict came fast. Divorce granted, custody mine, spousal support denied. The cheating wife had been exposed, her toxic love affair dragged through the mud of suburban justice. Ryan stormed out, shirtless as ever, muttering something about energy vampires. The courtroom booed. But revenge wasn't complete yet. No, revenge required a finale. So I did what any self-respecting American man would do. I turned my pain into a TED Talk. That's right. 3 months later, there I was, standing on a stage with a wireless mic, a giant screen behind me, flashing the words, "How to spot betrayal before it does yoga in your face." The audience was packed. Divorcees, suburban dads, even a few curious yoga moms who claimed they were just here for research. I laid it out. The red flags of infidelity, the signs of a cheating wife, the dangers of toxic love cults hiding in strip malls. I turned my personal humiliation into a suburban manifesto. Don't ignore the late-night classes. Don't fall for the kombucha lies. No, remember, if she smells like cologne and calls it spiritual awakening, it's not yoga, it's betrayal. Standing ovation. People cried. People laughed. One guy screamed, "Revenge," like it was the national anthem. And here's the kicker. Months later, I found peace. Not with another toxic love affair, not by crawling back to the cheating wife, but by reclaiming my life. I grilled steaks with my kids. I blasted Springsteen in the truck. I joined a CrossFit gym where the only betrayal was forgetting leg day. And for once, I wasn't defined by infidelity. I was defined by surviving it. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It feels like the end, but it's really Act 1 of your new story. And revenge? Revenge isn't about hurting them back. It's about reclaiming yourself. My cheating wife thought she found freedom with Ryan, but I found something better. Closure, dignity, and the sweet satisfaction of watching her Instagram followers drop faster than Ryan's attendance numbers. So if you're out there watching this, thinking your marriage is solid because she says she's just going to yoga, wake up, check the receipts, check the mascara. Don't wait until you're humiliated in front of a kombucha fountain. Trust me, infidelity isn't just personal, it's cultural. And in America, where everything ends up on TikTok anyway, the only real revenge is owning the story before someone else does. And that's how I survived betrayal, exposed a cheating wife, dismantled a suburban cult, and still made it home in time to flip burgers for the family barbecue. Case closed. Revenge served. Namaste.